Tonight on a very special Box Seat. Grant Dixon joins us to talk about the Queensland King leap to fame. RC Phoenix claimed our cash at Cambridge, and now Chris Spinocio has his sights set on an IDOM. New Zealand's hopes ride with bet and win. David White believes he's got the firepower to take the fight across the ditch. Breeding powerhouse Ken Brecken has his eyes set on a Sunshine State success. Plus, young gun Sam Thornley returns to defend his crown at the Young Drivers' Championship. That's all ahead on the Box Seat Inter-Dominion Special. Well, although we are in the middle of winter here in New Zealand, and our racing side of things on the quiet side, with all of our good horses only pretty much coming back into work now across the ditch at Breakfast Creek. Albion Park, yes, it is Inter-Dominion time. Looking forward to the rounds of heats which kick off this Saturday night. For the next 60 minutes, we'll be taking you through all of the heats for the Inter-Dominion series, as well as a couple of other super races on the card, including the Group 1, the Rising Sun. Two people who will be making their way over to Queensland to enjoy a bit of Brisbane sun are Greg O'Connor and Brittany Graham. Evening to you, Greg. Great time of year, and it's New Zealand versus Australia.
Yeah, it is. Hi to you, Matthew, to Britain. Adam's going to join us, which is great. He's been part of so many Inter-Dominion carnivals. Look, it is bang on, I think. This Inter-Dominion series being held in winter is perfect for the Kiwi horses. I think we'll get more over there. We've already had success in some of the undercard races. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into the form around this first round of heats, which has been made pretty intriguing with some of the barrier draws. And Britt, you'll be looking forward to heading home into Dominion time, and there's been a bit of drama already.
There sure has, Matt, and you're spot on. I can't wait to head across to Queensland. I was lucky enough to be involved in the Inter-Dominion only a few years ago when it was staged at Albion Park, and it was a local victory with Leap to Fame getting the job done. I'm hoping much of the same will be the case this time around, but you're right, because it isn't just the Inter-Dominion, it's also, you know, those other races as part of this carnival, which is making it so intriguing. But there was a flight touted to head from Victoria to Queensland early this week, which featured several of the key contenders. That was cancelled. Now many of them have had to make their way by road, and when it comes to the Rising Sun, which we're going to touch on as well, there's a case of two pretty significant runners who are in the field who are yet to make their way to Queensland and are waiting on a last-minute flight. So lots of drama, but there generally isn't a big carnival without a little bit of intrigue, as you mentioned.
Well, 2 years ago it was the Harry and Larry show, Adam Hamilton, and once again this year there's plenty on the line, including reputations and egos, and we'll be talking all about that in the next 60 minutes. How's things?
Yeah, terrific, Matt and team. Great to be on with you. And there's just something special about a Queensland Inter-Dominion series. Sentimental for me. The first one I covered on the road, yes, I'm showing my age, was Jack Morris back in 1993. But of course, Yule Star for New Zealand, and the Harry and Larry show, as you mentioned, only 18 months or so back there at Albion Park. This has got history itself in the making, because if Leap to Fame can win the final, he will become the richest earning harness horse in this part of the world. I think that's your tag for July 19.
Yeah, we remember the feats of Blacks of Fake with 4 victories, and you go back to the mighty Pacers, Caduceus and Cardigan Bay, and more recently as well, how could you forget the feats of Lazarus? Here is heat number 1 for the Inter-Dominion series, which will be run at Albion Park this Saturday night. All of the coverage will be here on trackside. And Greg, heat number 1, the first of what is set to be some intriguing races on the card.
Yeah, expect a fair bit of movement market-wise as well. We know many of these horses. Up the top of the book for a start, Peter Eclipse. He's been here a few times. He comes up with Barrier 1. Rakiro Rebel is very, very talented. Couple there. Sure Thing Captain, and of course Speak the Truth, who we've seen plenty of as well. Brittany, a little bit of an anomaly around trainers having 2 runners in this race, and none more so than for the series than for this race.
That's for sure and certain. So we're missing the 2 big guns in terms of the pacing division in this heat, and therefore it's anyone's game. And I think it's going to be really, really competitive for that reason, because for those that are in it, there's a high likelihood that they're going to either clash with if Don Hugo will leap to fame come next week over 2,600 metres, 2,138 metres ahead of these paces, Adam, and very intriguing in terms of gate speed here. And then you've got a horse like Beach Ball drawn off the second row, which adds to the interest of this contest. I don't know what this map looks like, but it's going to be vital.
Yeah, and where's Better Eclipse at? I mean, he was so good, winning 2 heats, running second in another and second to Leap to Fame 18 months ago, or just over that, in that Brisbane Inter-Dominion series. But his form's been up and down a little bit. Jess Tubbs had to pull the pin on his preparation, freshen him up and go again. He draws one. Interestingly enough, James Herbertson is aboard Recaro Rebel, the stablemate from 2. Josh Gallagher picks up the drive on Better Eclipse from barrier 1. So is that more of a vote of confidence for Recaro Rebel? Doesn't sit overly comfortably with me, these stable clashes for Shannon Price and Jess Tubbs, and to a lesser extent Andy Gath in this opening heat, but it makes for fascinating racing, and racing that is going to be oh so important, as you guys have already touched on, as far as some second-tier chances getting serious points towards the final.
Britt, Speak the Truth was a winner at Albion Park recently, as flat as a pancake down the back on a 26.5 last quarter, but just showed what a good stayer he is.
They went a really solid time here, a tick over 152 for the middle distance trip. So he was in the 1-1. There was a length at least for him to make up, and he's managed to pick himself up off the canvas, and he's been too strong for his rivals. It was good to see Frankie Ferocious ducking back to the inside. Greg, that was more like what we expect from him. And Jim RT down the outside, he made last year's Inter-Dominion Grand Final. So that was an important race last Friday.
Yeah, it was, and a good confidence-boosting win for Sure Thing captain. Of course, Shannon Price would Speak the Truth as well, in very good form. So she brings these 2 horses, and all importantly, Matthew, there's only 2 rounds of heats. So there ain't no going back. There's no heat that you can have a soft run in. So there's going to be fireworks, not only this week, but next week as well. And the other big factor that you have to consider are the bonus points. 4 points per race. The fastest last 800 metres gets bonus point of 2. The 401 and the overall fastest last mile in each heat gets a bonus point as well. So you could finish 9th or 10th, but actually promote yourself to, I suppose, arguably 6th or 7th.
We've seen plenty of beach ball here in New Zealand, Adam. Some may be expecting him to have grown a leg when he went over to Australia. Seems that he kind of hasn't, but can he?
Yeah, good question. I mean, he's in the right stable, isn't he, to continually build. And Luke McCarthy away with a select team in Queensland of about a dozen or so. Look, I think he's been honest. Maybe this is just where beach ball's at. I expect him to be competitive in a race like this heat. He could make the final if things go to plan, but I don't think he's going to cause any problems when the final comes around.
Before we move on, Britt, can Catch a Wave play some sort of part in this series?
He's a funny horse, and I mean, he has to get there too, because there was some thoughts after his most recent performance that he wouldn't be heading in that direction, but there's no doubt he can play a part. I'm not 100% convinced, and I know he's run some bigger races or won some bigger races over distance, but I still feel as though the shorter the better for him, so come final time. But just on beach ball as well, I thought it was quite good there behind Leap to Fame. 54.3 his own last half. I'm not sure he can go a whole lot faster. I think in a really genuinely run series, he's only going to improve, so he's certainly a smoky.
Heat 2, Greg, looks to be a bit of action early off the front with the star of the show drawn the second row.
Yeah, absolutely, Matthew. Looking forward to this heat. Jim RT, that Brittany's just mentioned, comes up with barrier 1, loves Albion Park. I spoke today to Brad Hewitt about captain's knock. Very disappointing last time. He said, look, I just have to put it down to an off night. He thought he'd win that race once he got to the markers, but he didn't quite live up to that. Very speedy Nyax there. And obviously Don Hugo, who's an Inter-Dominion winner. We saw him come to New Zealand as well and go around in the race by Betcha. $1.35 is very short for any horse, Brittany, over any distance at Albion Park for mine when they have to come off the second row.
It is, but I think it's his right price, and it wouldn't surprise me if he started shorter come Saturday night, because I just can't see a real danger to him off the front row. Maybe if Captain's Knock was in better form. And to be fair, he can throw in a shocker from time to time and bounce back quickly. But he looks so sharp here, breaking 150 last time out. Adam Don Hugo, he's had the 2 runs back. He seems from the outside looking in to have had a perfect preparation, and he doesn't have to get involved in any early pace burns. I think there'll be a few looking to get into forward positions here. Doug's Platter is the runner he follows out. Not convinced he'll head forward at the start, but as soon as there's any easing of pace, I'm sure Luke will be up and around them pretty quickly.
Britt, you make a really good point there about Captain's Knock. I wouldn't be too concerned about last start. I think you've just got to forget that, because through his career, he's turned in a shocker and then bounced back the next week. And the vibe from Brad Hewitt is just forget about what we saw last run. His work either side of that's been really good. So I'm with you. It's Don Hugo's race to lose, but I think that Captain's Knock is certainly the value runner, and I expect him to be driven quite aggressively despite the wide draw.
So we multi him up, Don Hugo?
I would, and if you're interested in doing that, I'd be taking the 135 now personally.
Okay, let's move on to heat number 3, Greg, and this one leaped to fame, the one barrier draw. We say it all the time, what's the one draw you don't want? Inside second row. Well, here you go, he's got it.
Basically, he's unbeatable at Albion Park, although this is the draw that he did get beaten in probably, how long ago was that? A couple of years ago now.
Probably 18 months
at
ago
least
now.
18 months prior to that series last time. So, yeah, he's $1.12. He follows out Mossdale Terry. Where does the speed come from early? Of course, the Kiwi Pinseeker couldn't have gone any better than what he did at Menangle. He's got gate speed. I can see him being put in it nice and early. And Britt, he's an emerging talent.
He sure is. And I think even though he was beaten Pinseeker in that Country Cups feature, he was still enormous over a long distance. If he built up speed over 2100 around Albion Park out in front, I think he'd run a mighty race. Max Delight's an old marvel. He's rock hard fit, but I think it is a trick draw for Leap to Fame, Adam, because it's a full second row. And Grant's generally, as a rule, not one to reverse park him out of these sort of situations. He's often pushed through at the start and played for a little bit of luck. Often he's managed to manoeuvre away, but yeah, it's a risky manoeuvre for mine.
Yeah, good. I mean, I spoke to Grant about it, and he said every other runner we've got in the series, we would have dreamed of a draw like that. It's the one horse we didn't want it with. I think he said it's about the 6th or 7th time he's drawn either barrier 1 or 8, which, to be honest, are the only ones that don't suit him in races. So it's definitely a bit of a trick draw. It's going to be, people just assume that Grant will find a way off, but there'll be a race where he won't. And we saw that, albeit 18 months ago, when he was held up 3 back on the inside, and that cost him winning on that occasion. So I'm interested in the gate speed out wide here. Like even one of the bolters where you've been bopping can come out on roller skates. I think Max Delight has to work forward and get into the race from out there. So you'd expect that he'll find a way because he's so much better than them, but I don't want to take $1.14 or $1.12 to find out.
Greg, are we thinking Pinseeker Johnny Cox takes the bull by the horns? Heat 1 takes the pressure off, tries to lead, get maximum points.
Well, he's got the barrier draw to do that from, Matthew, and I just can't see, with only being 2 heats, there a chance for him to go back. He was really, really good here. It's not easy, Brittany, to go to Menangle first up. They don't get a back off quarter. Off the back of that run here in the Country Cups final where he was hitting the wheels and pulled very hard, this was really good to see, wasn't it?
It was. He settled lovely. He got a very, very cheap middle half, and then he was able to extend into 25 and 8 closing quarter, and he did it well. I think he was shut down the last 50 metres. So that was an excellent performance by Pinseeker, Adam, and a good confidence boost for him as well. And look, after the line, he was still solidly, picking up speed. So good confidence boost. He gets a front row draw. I expect him to be the leader, but I agree in what you've said, the fact that horses like Weeb and Bop and Max Delight and the like have to go forward. But I think Pinseeker will run a cheeky race.
Yeah,
They'll
just be a little bit wary, won't they, about using Pinseeker too much early on in the backs of their minds, that potential for him to fire up. But I think they'd take a lot of confidence out of how well he settled last time. He'll make the final, and he's a top 3, 4, 5 chance in the final.
We've got Grant Dixon, who's joined us on the line now, trainer and driver of Leap to Fame. He'll have the best seat in the house there on Saturday night. Grant, the view might be okay behind the horse, but the one barrier draw that you probably didn't want, as we say hello to you.
Yeah, it was another barrier 8 for him, but hopefully something will work out somewhere for him, and we'll get into some open space.
Grant Gregg here, mate. Looking forward to catching up with you and seeing this horse again. When he got beaten in the Be Good Johnny Sprint, it was from the same barrier draw. You ended up 3 back on the fence. There is a fair bit of speed in and around you through it for this entire race, it looks like. So, how are you going to get out of there?
Oh, look, I'm tipping that I'm going to have to reverse him back out of there and then, just work it out from there, I think.
How's he been since last time? And we keep thinking he can't get any better, Grant, but for you and Trista, is he getting better?
Oh, look, I don't think he's getting better. I just hopeful that he, can maintain where he's at. So far we've had a good 10 days since he last raced, and hopefully the rest of the week's kind to us, and we, get through into the series good.
Great, thanks for joining us. He's had the 3 runs since returning from New Zealand, and they've, to the eye, looked perfect. He was good, fresh. He seems to have improved in each of them. But just that last start effort over 2,600 metres, the time was really genuine, and to the eye, it looked as though he wanted to get up and on the job. So is that any sort of concern come Saturday night? And if he was keen last time out, does that limit your options a little bit from that draw?
Oh, look, I think, he's never sort of let us down that way. I'm sure that he'll relax Saturday night for us. I don't know. He seemingly knows what we've got to do, and it's, I think he'll be clever enough to know that Saturday night's not the time to be keen on a helmet, I think, so I'm sure we'll be fine.
You've got a really big team in on Saturday night, Grant, and just another that I wanted to quiz you about, because I'm sure there might be a few watching at home that are interested in the trotting division. You have Tailored to Use going around, so he's been pretty genuine in a few runs there since joining your stable, and I thought he was quite okay there in the Redcliffe Trotters Cup as well. What sort of hope do you give him?
Oh, look, I think he'll have to be driven for luck. He seems like he'll follow the speed pretty good. But I think, to get right through the final, he'll need a touch of luck somewhere.
Grant, just in terms of Captain's Mistress, are we being a little bit out of line and thinking that she's been a wee bit hard done by not getting in the big one, or are you thinking otherwise?
No, I couldn't work out how they could possibly leave her out. I thought with her profile and what she's done, I don't think they can ever put another filly into that race if they're going to leave her out. So I was actually really disappointed and really surprised, to be fair.
She's obviously flying though, Grant.
Well, I think, Nathan's been super helpful, and he wanted her to obviously hold her form, so he couldn't have been more helpful on how to keep her ticking along. So hopefully we've followed what he said well, and so far we've been happy with her, and hopefully, we get another good run Saturday night. Obviously, Saturday nights was always going to be harder, taking on the boys and the 4-year-olds, but with the draw and that, I think she'll shoot herself full, I think.
Great. In regards to the Rising Sun, you've still got 3 runners. Do you have any idea what you're going to do in regards to drivers, and what hope do you give your trio in Saturday night's feature in terms of prize money, at least?
Well, I think they're genuine winning chances. Charge Ahead probably being the 3rd pick out of them. Probably at this stage, I'm going to drive past the Greatness, and Trista will drive Fader Waits. At this stage, we just haven't worked out the driver of Charge Ahead just yet. I think they're definitely in the mix. Just probably depends how much pressure there is early.
Just a couple of quick ones staying on the Rising Sun, Grant. No 3-year-old has won it. Leap to Fame ran 3rd. And then we had Rock and Roll Hammer the year after run 2nd in it. So they've got close, but they haven't won. Given the strength of this 3-year-old crop, 2 questions to you. Can one of these 3-year-olds beat the 4-year-olds for the first time? And from the draw, is your preference for Path to Greatness to try and lead throughout, as he did in the Queensland Sun 2 starts back?
Yeah, I think we'll give it our best shot to try and lead on him if we can. I think they're a bunch of good 4-year-olds and a bunch of good 3-year-olds, and I think they're I think it's just a matter of the pressure of the race, how genuine it is the whole way.
Grant, we thank you for joining us as always here on the box seat. Always a pleasure to chat to you, and all the best on what's set to be a big night for you, Tristan, and the team on Saturday.
No worries at all. Thanks a lot. Bye.
And you can get the Larry Domination, $250.
Yep, don't mind that. And you can also bet long-term on the Quinella for the final, which is $2.50 with Don Hugo as well. Just going back to that Rising Sun, I'd be having something on fader weights. Grant will be leading. He'll be staying in front. Fader weights is directly on his back. I'd be having top 3, top 4 bet. He's $15 now.
And what was that boosted Quinella?
$2.50.
Leap to Fame, Don Hugo.
Sorry, $3.50 for the final is. $3.50. $100 maximum. $3.50. I think that's terrific.
Pretty good. Here it is. We'll give you that graphic now. The boosted Quinella, the Faves Quinella. Both. This is the final, of course. They're going to get through the heats as well. So $3.50, they'll currently give you up to $100. And that'll close at this stage at 8:05 on Saturday. Here is the second of the options, the Larry's Domination. Larry, of course, being Leap to Fame. He's good enough now that we can refer to him pretty well solely as his stable name. For him to remain unbeaten through the heats and the final, $2.50. Into Dominion Trotters heats coming up next here on the box seat.
Set to go. Lights on, arms back, they're racing. It's Don Hugo, the leader. Minstrel is trying its heart out with 75 metres to go. Don Hugo's in front, and the Luke McCarthy Trophy cabinet is now complete. Don Hugo. But it's the Locomotive, still 5, 6, 7 metres in front. Toot, the Locomotive is going to win it. The Locomotive goes home to win it for Hollywood Hewitt.
All set, race 7. Quick, into Dominion final. Green light sign racing. Branco Tiger towards the centre. He burnt out. He leads early.
The 92 into Dominion, the first one that I can really remember. Is just turned 10 and could probably nearly pick the spot in the Moonee Valley up the back of the grandstand where I was watching it. It was quite amazing at the time. Just the roar at the top of the straight.
220 metres out. Westburn Grant, he's going well in front.
I think a fitting horse won at Westburn Grant. He was the absolute champion that year. Just set off a dream.
For the Grand Circuit champion, Westburn Grant in front. He wins the Inter-Dominion.
To think that I could have a horse one day and be part of it, yeah, to be a dream come true. I'm Chris Finozio, 43-year-old harness racing trainer based here at Romsey. I've been involved in harness racing all my life. Went out training on my own probably about 8-9 years ago. Like to try and work out what makes a horse tick a little bit. The environment we've got here, the horses spend most of their time in the paddocks. They're pretty chilled out. We try and just make good race horses out of them. We've had a bit of luck and a few nice horses, but hopefully we've got our best one at the moment. RC Phoenix is the best horse I've had to train. It's very lucky to get a horse as good as him. He's been here for a fair while, but he's really developed into one of the top trotters in the Southern Hemisphere. But he's a beautiful natured horse. He just loves his molasses. He came to me as a 2-year-old. Knew early on he had a lot of talent, but he had some problems, and I was very lucky that my father-in-law was Alistair McLean and was here with me all the time. Geez, I had to speak at his funeral and I couldn't do it. He was one of the really top vets in Australia, and I was pretty lucky to have him guiding me with that horse and to get him through those issues early on. He might not have ever had one start, basically. He's just a beautiful horse. My little daughter's here every morning and comes over and gives him a pat, and he'll just put his nose down for her, and everyone here loves him. He's travelled around a fair bit the last few years. He sort of goes anywhere, just settles in straight away. Yeah, really, he's just a dream to have. But to go to Cambridge, to North Island in New Zealand and win one of the big ones, definitely the biggest win of my career, the TAB Trot. To train and drive him on such a big night, it was quite special.
RC Phoenix in front. Queen Elida tries very hard, but RC Phoenix for the TAB Trot of 2025.
Really proud of Chris and RC Phoenix. Together they make a great team. They have a great bond together. RC Phoenix trusts Chris. You could really see that in the Tab Trot slot race. There was horses galloping either side of him, and they were just both calm and collected and managed to find the front, and that was a great result.
This will be the sweetest of sweet moments for Chris.
I've grown up in harness racing all my life, watching the Inter-Dominion. To have a horse of my own that's a real life chance in it, it's why you get up so early in the morning, all the cold wet days at Romsey. Hopefully they're worth it when you go and get up in the Queensland sunshine. I think the Inter-Dominion's such a great test of the horse. You know you've got to go up there and race in the 2 heats. You've got to go good enough to qualify, but still have enough to run your best race on the 3rd night, so it's a big test for the horse, trainer and driver. RC Phoenix, his biggest strength is he's such a great racehorse. He's won sort of Group 1 races coming from everywhere, so I really hope his versatility can help him up there at Queensland.
I think we give him a pretty solid warm-up.
Everything's really gone perfect at the moment, touch wood. It's definitely a lifelong dream, yeah. To be competing and to win one would, yeah, it'd be pretty special.
I think it was some of the best scenes that I've witnessed on a racetrack. You were there as well, Brittany, the night he won the TAB Trot post-race. We could have just put the vision on trackside and not said anything, and the pictures would have just painted 1,000 words.
Lovely person, Chris Finozio. So I'm so glad that he has had his patience rewarded with this horse, RC Phoenix, because he has been so patient with him right throughout his younger days, and now I think they're starting to reap the rewards, and he appears to be a great chance. I know many are saying he is a horse to beat in the series, and I can understand why.
Well, he's got a wideish barrier draw to contend with, trying to emulate some of the greats, including Lyle Creek, Take a Moment, just to name a few. More recently, New Zealand winners Winterfell, amongst many very good Australians also. And I Can Do's It, who has, of course, got the Brecon link. They have shares, of course, in Bet and Win, and Better Than Cash, who will be heading around there on Saturday night. Here's a look at heat number 1 with you, Greg. This is the first of 2 heats that the Trotters will be heading around the post in, and this one featuring New Zealand hope Oscar Bonavina.
Yeah, and it features London Tour Brick, who loves this place, has already been a great square winner and a runner-up in a great square as well. Comes up with a beautiful barrier draw and a good price, $2.20, I think, for him. Oscar spoke to Mark Purdon. He is over with the horse and will be there for the next week or 10 days. He said, I'm very pleased with him. Crucially, they changed his footwear. He went from Nikes to Barter Bullets, if you like, or he went from the flip-flops to the steel shoe, and he didn't show Brittany his normal acceleration. In saying that, Zealous Spur ran home in 27 and change, so he still went a good race, but he wasn't as fast as we've seen Oscar before. They are forever working with his feet. It's a decent sort of a challenge. He's an older horse, but I think the draw might play into his favour this week.
And Albion Park, for those who haven't been there, is a very hard and fast track. So if you have any chinks in your armour, and maybe if the flip-flops were just able to take a bit of that concussion away, you might have just been feeling it a fraction. So we'll wait and see if there's any developments in that respect. And to be fair, Zealous Spur is probably one of the most improved trotters in Australia in the last little while. Taylad to Use was running on into second on that occasion. But he was good, but I think we have such a high expectation, Adam, of Oscar Bonavina and that speed that he possesses, that when he lobbed in the 1-1 on that occasion, everyone just expected him to breeze on by.
Yeah, it's a good point, isn't it? He didn't explode out of the 1-1, which we're so used to Oscar doing, and he actually did the previous week. So a little bit of a watch on him. This is a fascinating race. It's going to tell us whether London to a Brick is a major player in this series or not. There's a great chance he'll work forward and get the front. If he does, you can see why he's favourite, because he is a better trotter than Zealous Spur, and in front he would run terrific times and be hard to get past. So I'm really looking forward to this clash. What a contrast the trotting series is to the paces, which really looks to be about 2 horses. In the trotters, there's probably 5 really serious winning chances.
Greg, here's London to a Brick winning at Menangle.
Yeah, look, he's a really good horse, London to a Brick. I've already mentioned what he's done at Albion Park, but this is him. It's sometimes hard to gauge when a field's spread out like this, Brittany, but one thing we know is high cruising speed, and when he gets in the zone like he is here, as Adam's just mentioned, if he's in front, he'll take all sorts of catching.
He's always given James Rattray a trouble or two, and he's never been the most consistent of square gators. But one thing he has been when he has travelled to Queensland is consistent. He's had 4 starts at Albion Park for 2 wins, both at feature race level, and 2 minor placings. And he was able to win the Group 1 Queensland Trotters Cup as a part of last year's Constellations Carnival, Adam. So I actually think he's better suited on the 1,000-metre circuit than Menangle necessarily. And I also think he's a horse who is a big confidence horse, and he's had a few nice runs at Menangle recently, so I'm sure his confidence should be on the up.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I've had something on him to win the final. I think he's good enough to do it. The little question mark is that 31.50 metres, but we'll deal with that when we get to it. I think it's a beautiful story that Jimmy Rattray is a big part of an Inter-Dominion again. Of course, he won all of our hearts going back-to-back with Bow Tide those years ago in the Pacers series, didn't he?
We'll look at heat number 2 now for the Trotters, and the market will suggest that Bet and Win is almost unbackable at the price. He's at $1.50, comes up with barrier number 1. RC Phoenix outside 340. I'll pose this to you, Greg. If RC Phoenix had a drawn 1, Bet and Win draws 7, how would the market shape?
Yeah, it'd flip straight around. No question about that at all. We know what's likely to happen here. Bet and Win should be able to hold up. If he is able to do that, RC Phoenix is likely to be sitting on as well. Will RC Phoenix be able to sit outside Bet and Win and beat him? We're going to find out very shortly, Brett.
It's interesting because it's not a super quick front row either. I was kind of looking for a horse to get across Bet and Win because I'm sure that they will want him to do everything right, Adam. But there just probably isn't a notable horse there that's going to speed across and get in front of him. And therefore, Bet and Win certainly holds the key to the race. And it could nearly be a case that RC Phoenix gets up outside him and it's not a frenetically run contest.
No, it's a watch heat. RC Phoenix has been there a few days. It's been very wet in Brisbane. Today was better, but Chris Finozio is saying he hasn't been able to get a lot of work into RC Phoenix. He's going into Albion Park tomorrow to have a look around there. Now, it's been a frustrating week for the Bet and Win team, or since they got up there. The beach they planned to work him on near Vic Frost's place, it's been eroded by the cyclone that hit Queensland a while back. So they are now going to have to move properties. I believe the last I heard is they're going to go to the old McCarthy property, now Ricky Thurlow's place, so that they can use heavier sand and maybe even beach access for the horse. So neither favourite in this race has had an ideal week leading into the first round.
We'll get the news straight from co-trainer David White, who's joined us here on the box seat. David, things not all going to plan for you over there so far as we say g'day to you?
Yeah, how you going, Matt? No, probably not since we got to Brisbane. We've had a couple little issues sort of, with the beach being washed away a little bit. So it was sort of, a little bit difficult to get exactly the work we wanted to into the horse sort of on Monday, but... on Sunday, sorry. But we've actually just relocated to Mark Duck's property here, and we've managed the track's right out this afternoon. We've managed to get him some good work into him this afternoon, and we're still very happy with the horse and where we're at.
Whitey, I guess going back to Brisbane for you guys is an opportunity for redemption in some ways. We were all excited after his first up win at the Carnival last year and things didn't pan out for him. Does it feel a little bit like that, or have you completely moved on from that given what he's been able to do since then?
It was sort of, we've moved on from last year. It was unfortunate obviously, but you know, what he's achieved in the last 12 months. You know, I think that trip was sort of a fairly integral part of being able to develop the horse and have him, you know, be able to compete at that top level and be able to do what he's done in the last 12 months.
David Barrier won. We know he has enough speed to hold up early. There's only 2 rounds of heats, but it seemed to be the most logical place to be.
Yeah, we're thrilled with the draw. You know, it looks like he should be able to hold, you know, hold the lead fairly comfortably, hopefully. And you know, Chris is a very smart driver. He'll have the long term plans, you know, with his horse more than likely. So you'd think the two of us should be able to control the race and you know, both be able to sort of just have a nice run and earn some points and move on to the next round, hopefully.
David, it's great to hear that you've arrived safely in Queensland with him because he was so good fresh up there at Menangle. How did he come through that run and what mindset are you going into this Inter Dominion with? Because we know he's raced really well fresh in the past. Now, hopefully, he's going to have the 3 runs in as many weeks. So I guess where is he at? Is he screwed down as far as he needs to be? Are you expecting him to continue to improve throughout the series?
Yeah, look, he was terrific at Menangle. He pulled up, you know, pretty well after the race, but he did have a good blow, which you'd sort of expect. He hadn't been anywhere for 7 weeks, so there's always going to be a bit of improvement there. He's probably 90-95% fit at the moment, and I'd say he'll keep progressing as we get through the series. You know, the plan is to have him right on final night, and you know, I think he's pretty close to where we need him to be.
Excellent stuff. What about Better Than Cash? It must be a strange feeling because he is presently an emergency for the Rising Sun, the race that you have taken over him for, and basically the race that he went there for. You missed Redcliffe in preference for the Rising Sun. So at the moment he's not there. Everyone seems to be saying he's likely to get a start, but how has he been?
Yeah, I'm actually thrilled with him. I was absolutely over the moon with his fresh up run. You know, Regan had him in a great spot, and I think he seems to be thriving with the sun on his back over here. And you know, if we get a start in the race, which everyone seems to be saying we will, I think he'll run a very bold race. That's for sure.
David, I get the sense we're having a totally different conversation with each other than what we had before the Rowe Cup when yourself and Stacey were going in with so much uncertainty. It must be a good feeling being able to get the work into the horse and have some sort of certainty.
Yeah, that's right. You know, I was sort of a lot happy with where the horses are at this time around, which is definitely a nice feeling and a whole lot less stressful, that's for sure.
Have you got the family over there?
Stacey and the kids are arriving on Friday, so I'm looking forward to seeing them again.
All right, we're wishing you all the best and we'll be cheering you home. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Here are the futures markets for the Inter Dominion Trotters final. Last year, the Locomotive became the first 4-year-old to win in, I think, just over 3 decades. RC Phoenix, Greg, continues to get better and better. And I think there's one thing David White said in that interview. He said Chris Finocio is a smart driver. He won't be wanting a gutbuster. Him and I, their 2 horses, should be able to control the race up front, not have a gutbuster, pretty much get themselves in the final straight away. It'd be a cracking final if they both draw good.
Absolutely, and it's indicative of how even, as Adam said before, we've got 5 winning chances. And the one we didn't mention before, Brittany, is the enigma for both of those horses, Gus. He has a massive motor. He is a local. If he does things right in that first heat for the Trotters, then he'll have a part to play, not only in that, but in the final as well.
That $61 still is quite incredible because I genuinely think he can win the Inter Dominion Grand Final, particularly over a trip where he has an opportunity to settle. He made a mistake 2 starts ago that wasn't really his fault. It was his fault last time out. There was no reason for that gate break, but they've subsequently moved him to being back out of the draw once again, where he seems to be at his happiest. And there is no doubt that if the Gus that we know turns up, he can run a really bold race, Matt. And I think, well, he's 450 in that heat. So that shows, you know, even despite from his barrier draw, how good he is and the market respect that surrounds him. But I guess we know he's not going to draw well come a final if he gets that far.
Just quickly before we move on, I want to go back to RC Phoenix. It almost seems as though he's got better this time in from what we saw from him first up.
Well, he's just so tough. He can just get to that high speed and maintain it for such a long way. And this was a good effort from him. This was a nice field, horses like Mufasa Metro, there's Harold Smith in the Emma Stewart colours, Parisian Artiste, Plymouth Chubb. These aren't average horses that he's managed to sit outside and dominate fresh up from a break. And as I mentioned, every time he goes out and has a little rest, Greg, he seems to come back better. And now heading into an Inter-Dominion second up, it does look perfect.
Yeah, it does. And I think rolling to sitting parked and getting brilliant points in that first heat will set his series up very nicely. Obviously, Chris is very confident where he's at. So a race in 2 in the second heat between Bet and Win and him, and a race probably in 3 in that first heat if you throw Gus in and $61 that you tipped out a few weeks ago. Yeah, it was very nice tipping. Thanks very much.
So your Bet and Win this week?
I think Bet and Win this week. And
what about the final?
Yeah, I'm happy to go straight out with him because I know we've got a market there if you think either of the Kiwis can win the final $2.50. So I think that's brilliant for backers of the Kiwi horses. There you go. You got Oscar and Bet and Win in the final, and $2.50 is the price.
Same question for you. Are you Bet and Win this week, and then who in the final?
Bet and Win this week. I think there's probably too much between them though in terms of the market, and I'd probably be backing RC Phoenix at the current price, and I'm with him to take out the final. I think he's just going to relish the 3,100.
Adam, same question for you.
I'm going to join the chorus. I think it's Bet and Win. I really think with the draw advantage and, RC Phoenix building through the series that he'll win this week. I do think RC Phoenix is the one to beat come final time, and London to a Brick is the value.
After the break here on the box seat, we'll hear from Ken Brecken. Could be a big weekend for Brecken Farms and all of the ownership group around Bet and Win and Better Than Cash.
Marketplace is flooding home right down the outside. Rubera got the chocolates. Rubera wins. They were never really going to catch Rubera.
Often I think with young ones, if they get injured, sometimes it can be a stroke of luck. I think they can come out the other side a stronger horse. So he's looking very good. He won his first race here at Albion Park and beat a very good horse, as you know, a good Queensland horse. And yeah, it's exciting. I mean, he'll be up against the best from the rising sun against the older horses. But look, I think he's up to it. And I think the draw, if I'm correct, they get 1 or 2. So he's a big show. Look, I don't think it was ever a target. It's probably come about after his first run, and Adam Sanderson, who really loves the horse, and said, as far as he was concerned, the horse was probably 5 lengths better at the same time as Mage Hot last year, so it gave probably Nathan the confidence to have a crack at the race.
Bet and Win on the inside is Mr. Love. They drive for the Rowe Cup. I say Bet and Win. What a training performance.
Yeah, look, it's exciting because we bred both Rubera and Bet and Win, and it's a very big syndicate that own Bet and Win, so it's great to be part of that. I had my arm twisted to stay on the horse, and thank heavens Karen and I did, because it's giving us a lot of fun, and it would be so good to see David and Stacey White, if they could get him up to win that Inter-Dominions. I think they were pretty disappointed with what happened last year over in Queensland, and the horse wasn't himself again. With the big race, the big slot race at Cambridge, whether or not he was feeling something, but he wasn't right there. So he looks a picture. He won in Menangle last week very, very well. So fingers crossed he'll do the job for us over there. If I look at the Inter-Dominions, of course, we go right back. We won that with our great old horse, I Can Do's It. He's still prancing around the farm. I suppose any bloke would with 10 or 15 mares in the paddock. So he's very happy, but. Yeah, very fond memories of winning the Inter-Dominions. I think it was back-to-back with I Can Do's It. So hopefully we can raise the flag again over in Queensland this year. I'll get sick of the cold, so it'll be good getting over there with a bit of sun. Plenty of cold forex over there and plenty of mum champagne for Karen, and we'll have a ball, win or lose.
Sounds like he's going to have a pretty good time with Karen, and would have brought back some great memories talking about I Can Do's It, and you were just saying he paid about $15 that night. But
he did. Second row draw, Mark Purdon. Just
I think a few might have got a bit too.
Yeah, masterclass. I think Ken might have got a little bit. And you're right, he'll have a few 4Xs. Karen will enjoy herself. They'll have a great time in Queensland, as they do every year.
All right, we spoke earlier on about the potential that Bay of Biscay may not make it to Queensland, but the flight being cancelled. Emma Stewart in the media this week saying that the horse will need a miracle. So maybe we say that it will be a miracle if Better Than Cash doesn't get a start in the race, if that's what we're going on. Here's a look at the market. And at the moment, Bay of Biscay is still in the market at $5.50. Path to Greatness, we heard from Grant Dixon, $12 has the inside. Hesitate on a winning run. And there's Rubera, Greg, barrier 3 he comes up with. A drifting shot out to $6.
Yeah, I think he's won his last 5 in a row, and of course he beat Marketplace. Terrific form line for this, although Adam mentioning before, Britt, that 3-year-olds, it's not easy for them. If Leap to Fame couldn't win it, and we know what level of horse he is, that just shows you how tough it's going to be. They do get a great chance this year, though.
And it's a little different this year in that the last couple there's been 1 or 2 3-year-olds, and the 4-year-olds have drawn, 3 or 4. And in the case of When Amazing Dream won and the mares, they had positive barrier draws. All the 4-year-olds have tricky draws to overcome come Saturday night. But gosh, I can't believe the openness of the market, 550 favourites. And I'm very surprised, Matt, as well, by the driving engagements for a few of these runners. Now, I see Pete McMullen's going to drive Delhi Row and Chantel is going to drive the Janitor. Now, I thought the Janitor was a top seed. Generally, Pete takes the top seed. So maybe he's telling us something there with his decisions. And I'm also surprised that Grant's driving Path to Greatness over Fade Await. So we're going to have to try and pick through that information and make of it what we will.
Here's Fade Await's running second and behind Rubera. This was, of course, in the Redcliffe Derby. Beautiful front-running drive here, Greg. Adam Sanderson summed up the race perfectly.
Yeah, well, I spoke to Mark Purdon yesterday about this. I thought with him being there, he might take the reins. He said, this kid can drive. He said, well, he's not a kid anymore. He said he's an outstanding driver, and he showed his wares at Redcliffe. He was so fast that Fade Awaits couldn't get to him. Brilliant front-running driver. Horse in the zone at the moment. Where he ends up is, I'm not too sure, Brittany, and may well be the key to his winning chances.
Hesitate, I think, holds the key to this race. He can be really touch and go off the gate, and what he does from that position, I'm not sure, particularly with a horse like Path to Greatness drawn to his inside. So I agree. I think 3 can sometimes be a really tricky draw. Now, Delhi Row is exceptionally fast off the mobile, and I think the engagement of Pete McMullen, Adam, on Delhi Row is a pretty big indicator in what he is going to do. We heard from Grant, he liked to hold the lead with Path to Greatness. I think there is going to be so much on in this race. It's going to be a very, very genuinely run 2100 metre contest.
And you'd imagine Delhi Row in all likelihood plays a big role in the Janitor's chances too, because if Delhi Row can lead, the Janitor would be a great chance of rolling forward and getting the front. So I think that first 200 metres is oh so important. You know this track, Britt. You know these horses better than anyone. Who do you think will lead? Has Delhi Row got enough pace to get across Path to Greatness?
I think he will. I think he will be able to get across him, although the 2100 metre starting point is very fair, and we've seen it many times. A horse like Swayze led from 1 from that starting point because everyone seems to get a fair run at it. But I just believe Delhi Row is so incredibly quick, he will be able to get across. It'll set up for a very quick lead time, and when that happens, I want to play horses on the marker line. I think Fade Awaits is going to need a fraction of luck, but he is a horse who I'd certainly be interested in at the current price. And even Better Than Cash and Jack's Ultimate Fury off the second row, Matt, are horses that I'm gravitating towards. I love the Janitor, and if Delhi Row finds the lead, I think the Janitor will eventually get to the front, but yeah, there is so many chances in this contest.
Yeah, the Janitor just moves over the ground so well, Greg. And another horse that we see come through the school of Lauren Pearson and Brent Barclay, they're such good horse people. They get them up, they get them ready, they sell them, and great to see this horse doing a job. Yeah,
they've spent plenty of time in Brisbane as well over the years, that pair. So, yeah, it is. It's a great example of what they can do with the horse. So, this is a cracking contest. There are so many permutations. There'll be a lot of talk before the race, but, yeah, what happens out on the track is going to be intriguing.
Are you a Rubera fan? Are we each way him, or are you... Where else are you looking?
I'm absolutely going to go with Fade Awaits. Probably more top 3, top 4, just because he needs to be on the markers, and the shortest way home at Albion Park, that's the place to be.
Here's a $5. It's not real. Who are you putting it on?
Fade Awaits for me.
All right, Adam, if I gave you $5 as well,
broken record here. I thought I'd found faderweights at value. Everyone's joining me. At terrific odds. 3 pegs could be a dream spot to be in this race.
Okay, let's take a look at the Rising Sun consolation. Captain's Mistress, speaking of Southerners, has barrier number 1. Britt, does she have the speed to hold them out is the big question.
This is an incredibly quick front row too, and much of this race, it's hard race to really analyse at the moment because Jack's Ultimate Fury and Better Than Cash are in it. And if they get starts in the Rising Sun, it completely changes this setup. But Riley Rainbow is very fast off the gate. Luxa Turner is very fast off the gate. Attachment is a gate flyer, so she's going to have to leave on absolute roller skates to hold her position. However, even from leaders back or 3 fence, she's still a big threat because this was some performance last Saturday night. They went quicker in the Oaks, Greg, than they did in the Derby, and she's come from last, 3 wide solo with a quality filly on her back. This was a great race and a super run. She looked to be drawing off on the line too.
Yeah, look, she was exceptional. You've driven this track plenty of times. I've watched a whole heap of races at Redcliffe. They just don't do that. They certainly don't do it in a feature race there. And speaking to Nathan, he said, look, she's bounced through it beautifully. Grant and Trista have done a great job. Barrier 1, I reckon she'll hold up from there, provided that Jack's Ultimate Fury isn't in the race. He's in the other race because pretty good horse there. Go back and have a look at his last start performance.
Adam, can she win from Barrier 1, Captain's Mistress?
Oh, absolutely she can. I'm going to echo what everyone said. Horses don't do what she did. And Grant Dixon said that to me off air earlier. That Redcliffe win was absolutely phenomenal. Went as quick or quicker than the boys did in the Redcliffe Derby. She's elite, and if she can hold up, I think she's clearly the one to beat.
Stay with us here on the box seat after the break. We'll whip the plugs out and get you home. We're in the home stretch here on the box seat. AYDC, that is Australasian Young Drivers Championship, will be taking place over in Queensland as well. We also have 4 New Zealand representatives: Wilson House, Harrison Orange, Carter Dalgetty, and last year's winner, Sam Thornley. Sam has joined us here on the box seat. Sam, I'm sure that you're as proud as punch to be putting the flag on again and taking on the Australasian stars. Evening to you.
Evening to you, Matt. Yeah, it was something I never ever thought I would get to do, and then did it once a few years ago and run second. I thought, oh, yep, might never be back. And then a couple of years later, got to go again, and to go again this year is just a massive thrill.
All right, it's been a tremendous series, Sam, over the years for the Kiwis. I think we've won it 5 out of the last 10 years. What have you learnt by going to it a couple of times now, and how do you defend your title?
Hopefully it's just sort of down to the horses you get and the draws and the runs you get, and you probably can't really look too much into it. You just got to drive how you think the race is going to go and on field and just see what happens.
Sam, congratulations on being chosen to represent the country once again. So you started off in Victoria, you went to New South Wales last year. Is this your first time driving in Queensland? And if so, I think there's 10 heats in total, a few at Albion Park, a few at Redcliffe as well. So have you watched a bit of racing, or have you drawn on anyone else for some advice? Because I'd assume they're probably both, well, particularly different tracks to what you've experienced.
Yeah, no, they sort of look different tracks. I've been trying to watch as much races as I can and sort of follow all the social media over there because they seem to do a lot of stuff for racing over there. So it's been really good so far. So hopefully it works out.
Do you feel like you got a bit of a target on your back, being the winner from last year?
Yeah, no, there's a lot of good drivers in it this year, just as well there was every year. So hopefully just get a few good horses and, yeah, we'll see what happens.
You're going over with your good mate Wilson House as well, so you'll have to keep him in line. You have to teach young Harrison Orange a thing or two about being on tour. And Carter Dalgetty, I'm sure that he's as competitive as most, so it's going to be a great series for you guys.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a really good series, and it works out quite good because there's 4 of us from New Zealand I know real well, and then most of the people on the trip this year I met, and a few of them I've competed with so far. So, yeah, no, it's going to be hard, but looking forward to it.
Are you going to wear the same colours you wore last time, or are we expecting a different set?
No, definitely going to wear the same ones. I don't think Harness Racing were too keen on me wearing them again. They wanted to change it, but it's worked out good that I'm going to stick with them. I've had them the whole 3 times, so hopefully we can do well again.
All right, the Red and Blacks will keep a close eye on you, Sam. Thanks for joining us, and good luck while you're on tour.
No, cheers. Thanks for having me.
Pretty good bunch, Greg.
Oh, bit of depth. It's fantastic for the future of the sport when, you know, you've got 4 and Crystal Hackett was right on the hammer trying to qualify as well. So he's come a very, very long way, Sam Thornley, and I'm sure he'll do a great job of trying to defend his title.
And put the Aussies in as well. A couple of them I'm not too sure about, haven't really followed, but you put Herbie up the top, Emily Savelko coming back over as well. It's a pretty decent bunch all round.
It sure is, and many of them actually competed in the AYDC when it was last staged in Queensland. I know James and Emily were certainly there. Chloe Butler has the local knowledge. I'm sure that will count for a fair bit. But aggression in Queensland is pretty important. So whoever is able to get good barrier draws and take full advantage of them, it's going to count for a lot. But I like that it's 10 races. It's not as though there's 3 or 4. I think everyone's going to get a fair opportunity. They should all have a good go at getting a nice draw or a nice horse.
And young Jet Turnbull, he'll have the lightweight factor as well. They wouldn't even know he's towing anything.
He'd be at 45 kilos ringing wet, I would have thought. The other thing is that Carter, he's had an opportunity to drive in a series already this year and is obviously driving very well.
I'll give you some coin. Yep. What are you putting it on this week?
I'm going to go with Oscar. I think to the second row is a perfect draw for him. Short course horse, he's virtually unbeatable for mine, so I'm going to go with him.
Brett?
I really struggled to find a best bet because there are a few at short odds who should get the job done, the Don Hugos and the Leap to Fames. But in that first heat, I think Riquero Rebel will run a really good race. I think she's flying and she's from a pretty positive barrier draw going to get a nice trip. Interesting that James chose her, James Herbson that is, over Better Eclipse. And I think 450 is good betting. I saw about 180 top 3, so I think that's a great way to play. But I like her chances. She's actually $8 in the Golden Girl. So if she makes the grand final, they'll have a decision to make come that period.
Adam, we're about to wrap things up. Do you think the 11s will hold up around fadeaways?
Oh, no. Not after what we've heard tonight, that's for sure. But, look, rather than go for a favourite, that's my value play for night 1.
Adam, thank you for joining us. Greg, Brittany, you enjoy yourselves basking in the Queensland sun, and I'll enjoy myself here enjoying some -3 degrees frosts. Thanks for joining us here on this Box Seat special. Happy Inter Dominion Week.